All right, so that recording started, so we'll get started, Sandika. Thank you to everybody watching this video webinar or listening to the podcast. We're going to do another one today with my friend and colleague Sandika. How are you, Sandika?
Good morning, Alex. Yeah, I'm doing well.
Yeah,
Chilly,
yeah.
but doing well, yes.
It was chilly last time. The sun will come blazing in at some point, but it won't warm us up.
Right.
Um, so thanks for joining. We're going to talk today about some certification stuff. So what we're going to really focus on, why would you get the certification, what it's like out there at the moment for the certification, and um, yeah, what you're doing, your role, and why you might want that training and certification in your role. So just before I do, just a reminder that Sandika and I are part of a network on agilecoach.com.au. And if you want any more information about any of the topics that we're discussing or any other topics really that are likely to impact your agile ways of working, you can check out that site there, or email us both or email one of us if you're interested. Um, and then I'm going to go just show you this. So those who are on the webinar will see what I've just put up. I grabbed this yesterday, Sandika, from LinkedIn.
Mm.
I don't know who posted it. I just grabbed this one bit. They were posting it, and I thought, well, how pertinent is that? So I've got a few certifications. In fact, there's a couple there that I've got. Most of them I don't have. Um, it's a bit of a minefield now. How have you found it, and what have you seen change over the last few years with certification?
It's grown to be a business
Mm,
now, unfortunately or fortunately. Yeah, there's heaps out there, heaps of certifications, heaps of certification providers, lots of trainers. So yeah, it's a bit of a minefield. I think that's the right term. If you are entering this as a newbie or quite relative to the industry, then it becomes quite daunting and actually
mm,
quite overwhelming when you look at it. If you Google and you don't know what to choose or where to, whom to ask, because as I said, it's a business. So if you go and ask a service provider, they'll sell you something. They're there
mm.
to sell, not necessarily the right thing for you. So yeah, it's a bit of a minefield. Hopefully, we'll help you how to navigate this in
Yeah.
this talk. Yeah.
So you mentioned something there that actually is always everything you ever do. I mean, my parents are getting a roofer. If you know someone, it's not really about the company that you're going to use, even if you're going to get your roof fixed. It's, are those people who are going to do it actually experienced and going to give you not just the certification at the end, but also the benefit of the training? You're nodding away. Is that your feeling as well?
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
You have to do your research, ask people with experience, ask people who've been there before, ask us,
Yeah.
reach out to people that can talk about some of these certification and service providers because it's not cheap
No, it
as
isn't.
well, so you should know what you're getting into, what your paths are, why you are getting into it, and you know, yeah, there's certainly help out there. Just reach out. Just Googling and trying to understand product reviews might not help because you wouldn't
Mm,
necessarily know what actually goes in a 2-day session or a 3-day or a 4-day session, and it's quite expensive as well. And you don't want to do the same certification again and again, because the first one was not good.
yeah.
The first experience was not good because that's a lot of money as well and time if you're taking time away from your work. So yeah, a bit of research, asking around, not rushing, and I would say it has to have some level of organic nature to it. We'll talk about that a bit later. You shouldn't just do the certification for the sake of it. You should learn why it is there, why you are getting trained on a particular under a particular title, what it means to you, and you are growing, with the knowledge as well. Um, Otherwise, you will have a bunch of patches that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Well, I think the same as most things that I found most of the training I've done throughout my professional career, and whether it be Excel training in my first few years or whatever, it's always just a collection of the things I'm doing and showing me really how to do them well. So the idea that you would go in and do the certification with no experience in a change team or a development team, it's probably not the best thing to do. It's probably better to be at least in the area, or unless you're doing the entry level one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you
Yeah.
might. But the other good thing, I was just going to say, when you're on the training, one good thing about doing certification and training with the right provider is you do meet loads of people who are probably in the exact same position, and you start to build your
100%.
network.
100%. I think you touched a good point. If you're really interested in getting into Scrum Mastering or agile coaching, depending on what your likes are. Um, you should actually, if you're into Scrum Mastering and if you're part of the team, you should actually speak to your Scrum Master, and he or she will love it. You'd say, okay,
Mm,
I would like to know the thinking behind, or volunteer, facilitate the planning, or the stand up.
yeah,
Start something small, and you'll get the inner workings, the thinking behind a particular session. Because what you see in the 15 minutes is just a drama, but there's a lot of things that happens behind the screen. There's a lot of thinking that goes behind into planning, depending on the type of planning. That's what you need, before you probably step into a certification course. So there's organic growth there, and it doesn't sound or look
yeah,
artificial. When you step into a certification course, if you're starting as a Scrum Master, as you said, you'll meet a lot of people. And also, there are other things that you will gain by being in a certification course. You know this, Alex, and we've been there before as trainers as well as trainees. We do a lot of myth busting. We do a
mm,
lot of unlearning, because what we practice at our workplace might be contextualized, might be just not the vanilla form. So you would want to know what the framework actually offers, and then what we call the component skills, right? So you'll understand what those fundamental offerings are from a framework, and
yeah,
how it works, in to put together. So whether it is relative estimation, whether it is how you do planning, or refinement, what is it that the framework says? How is
yeah,
it practiced properly? Because you are in a controlled environment, in a training setup, you'll meet like-minded people. You'll meet people with experience, with less experience than you, so you can get to play your ideas. And it's a controlled environment. It's more like an utopian environment where you can practice things that the framework says, and you learn what good looks like. You learn what basics looks like, and that's what you need. That
yeah.
unlearning itself is a real learning.
I think that's
There's a lot of things that we, depending on the structure of the organization, maturity of the organization and the team, there's a lot of things that we contextualize. When I say we, the experienced people contextualize, and you wouldn't know why that is done, not
yeah,
necessarily by looking at it. And there are reasons that you'll do. Like, say, for example, relative estimation. Some people might say, okay, let's start one point as one day, for whatever the reason. Maybe you don't understand relative estimation,
yeah.
but that's not the right way to do it. You know what the right way to do it if you attend the course. So
I think
yeah,
you
yeah,
made a
please
really,
go.
really. Sorry, Sandika. I think you made a couple of really good points there. I think one of them was that often you can go into an organization, any organization, and get badly trained by I'm going to call them a bad boss, but they're not bad bosses, but bosses who didn't understand it, and then they're showing everyone else how to do it that didn't understand it. You have to understand, and I'm not talking necessarily just about agile. I just mean about working, like
Yeah,
how we estimate,
yeah,
how we set ourselves targets,
yeah,
and particularly bosses are doing it for themselves rather than for the team, and that can often be a detriment. I think
yeah,
what you've talked a lot about is that the training. So that the training and getting continuous training probably better than going off and doing 5 days at a time and then or 10 days at a time. But that continuous learning is really important. And we talked about you could go on these sources like Google and read a book, but you're saying that yeah, that's good, but you won't unlearn anything that way. You'll just add that to the experience that you've got, and there'll be a lot of contradictions. So the training's got an opportunity to really, and you can put your hand up and go, "Oh, I don't think that's how you should do it," and then the trainer will go, "Well, let's unpack how you think," and
yes.
you can do that. So there's a lot, but you turn up to your first interview. Is the certification gonna get you the job? What's gonna what why would you get the certification for getting the job? I mean, I've interviewed a lot of people, so I'll let you go first with what your experience is. But
Yeah.
do you think it's a step in, or is it almost a big thing to have now?
Yeah, look, my experience tells me, and lot of immigrants, we are in Australia, we come from other countries. You would know that to get to the interview, you need to tick certain boxes, right?
Mm,
And ticking a box is having a certification to back your experience. So that doesn't get you the job. That gets you to the interview.
yeah,
What gets you the job is your experience, your hands-on experience, and your ability to explain that in the interview. And there's heaps of competition you might not get even if you are really good at what you do. So I think, in my experience, and my recommendation is, if you are a really good practitioner and you don't have a certification, it'll be difficult to get through that first barrier,
Yeah.
where you get to the get through the filtration and get to the interview. You might still get through depending on the path that you take. Like, you might get recommended by a colleague who's already working there, which is good, who has worked with you before. That will get you thus far. But you can't rely on that all the time. So yeah, certifications will get you the interview, but it won't necessarily get you through the interview,
Yeah.
because experience matters.
So, and I think the idea, like you say, for a long time, it was if you're new to the market, then that's definitely worth having. It's not that I disagree with you. I think this is the importance of having more than one message in this. So, if I look at CVs now today, and I've not done so many recently, but in the past I've hired a lot of Scrum Masters. I might have noticed they've got certification or not. It's really the experience that comes first. But
Yes.
you might be right. If the experience was overseas, I might then look to see is there any alignment with how they're working and that certification might provide that. I certainly wouldn't ask in the interview about certification. It would all be about the detail of, so the training would then come in use
100%.
because
100%.
I'm likely to ask a question like, your team doesn't want to do story points. What do you do? Or something like that to take you
Yes.
outside of the book learning.
Yes.
So
100%. You're right. Like, the interview is more about what your achievements are, what your failures are, what have you learned over the last few years. How you manage difficulties, whatever it is. You need to have. You can't fake it,
yeah,
right?
totally.
If you can't get to the interview because your the agency, the recruitment agency, is not seeing your certification there, then that's the challenge
Yeah,
that you have, right? If you apply directly and people know you already, like through a recommendation or referral, then you're already there in terms of your having a person to vouch for you. But yeah, look, certifications will not get you the job. Certifications will probably take you to the point where you can actually put yourself and make your case. Um,
yeah, and I think with the right certification, I think we touched on that at the beginning. If um if it came forward and it was from one of the big providers, which I don't want to name any because I don't want to bias it, but there are some big providers out there that are pretty obvious. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time, but then again, you might not get the quality of training with the big provider because they are factories like that. So it's a bit of a
yeah,
minefield, as you said.
I
I
think
think.
a couple of things, Alex,
Yeah, go
just
on.
before we close out. So when you go into trainings, as we said previously, you'll meet like-minded people, you'll network, and you'll unlearn a lot. You'll learn new things where you can go and practice. But certifications are not the only avenue of gathering this. You
Mm,
can do meetups, you can do coaching retreats. There's conferences that happens. There are a lot of other sources that might give you the same, not the badge.
yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
it
you're
depends
right.
on how you want to diversify your learning, sort of portfolio, if I use that word loosely. But I would say, if you are new, it's good that you pursue a certification path,
Yeah,
because that will give you that confidence as well, that you've been there, you acquired something, and you have something to show for. It's nice. Most of these
yeah.
badges are
Put it
quite
on your
nice.
LinkedIn. I tell you what, you're right though. I mean, what I found was once I got my certification, which was my entry really, it then got the enthusiasm to do all those other things. So I did meetups almost straight away. This is in the old pre-COVID days. So yeah, but there are a lot more out there now, and certainly we're not talked about beyond Scrum Mastery, but there are lots of certified Scrum Masters out there. But as you start to try and move away from Scrum Mastery, people are looking for that extra little thing that you've got. So if you want to be an agile coach or a crew delivery lead over more than one team and all that sort of stuff. So I tried to use use some terminology there that might confuse people. So just say more than one Scrum Master of multiple teams. Um, we were going to talk about something else, weren't we, Sandika? But I think we want to keep these below 20 minutes. So we'll probably move on. But I think what we'll talk about in our next one is maybe we'll do the interview And maybe we'll do, what sort of stuff can you expect in interviews? Maybe then we'll go on to the first day in the role, because we want to talk about what your team expects of you and what your leaders will expect of you as a Scrum Master. Because I think that's the same thing, hopefully, but where you do get any contradictions, it's good to focus on one or the other.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts from you, Sandika?
Look, reach out. We are here to help. If you are confused, or if you are unsure what the next steps are or good for you, we can have a chat with you and help you out. Yeah, that's what I would like to say, Alex.
Yeah, awesome. Although we're Agile Australia, obviously we're trying to be Australian based. I am actually there's someone from Germany. Who's reached out to me, and I'm actually meeting him tonight. So it's there's no charge. We don't charge for these sort of quick questions. But yeah, always want to build our network. And there's the ways you can do that. You can reach out to us on any of those formats, or I showed you a page earlier. If you just want to email one of us directly, you can go to the About page on that website as well. All right. Sandika, thank you very much. And thank you to everybody who's listened in and watched this podcast. We will see you probably in a week's time. Awesome.
Thank you.
Let's get this stopped.